All right. Hi, everyone. Today, I wanted to talk with you about how to overcome obstacles when starting running a private practice, whether you're starting up a solo private practice for the very first time, or you're starting a group practice, or you've been in group practice, or you've been in private practice. It doesn't matter. We all face these different obstacles. Now, I find this to be the most acute when you are starting, right? There'll be kind of you might get a checklist, right? So I have a checklist for how to start both a solo practice and a group practice. And when you look at that list, it looks like you can kind of just like walk through it one by one, right? And kind of check them off. But occasionally you get to one of those items and it feels like an insurmountable obstacle. So for example, for a lot of people when they're doing a solo practice, if they want to set up a business entity, this can sometimes feel like the insurmountable obstacle. It's like it's just written out like start a business entity. But it's not that simple, right? You don't just click a button and that happens. And for some people, yeah, this is really big. Like, how do I even start to do that? Where do I go? How do I do it? And so that can feel really challenging. Another example, if you're in group practice, one of the big obstacles people try to figure out is how to get paneled with insurance companies and how to hire pre-licensed therapists or preliminary licensed therapists. And this tends to be a really big obstacle for people. And I think when we're starting out, there's these different, we kind of cruise along, we kind of like check things off, you're getting a couple of things done, and then boom, you hit this big obstacle. And today I wanted to share with you how I overcome all of those obstacles, my process for doing so. I think it'll be helpful for you just to kind of figure out my mindset and how I've overcome certain obstacles. I have set up a solo practice, I've set up a group practice. That doesn't mean I don't continue to face obstacles, but for those of you who are looking to start, I want to share with you my process and hopefully help you overcome the obstacles. But just to normalize it, that's what it feels like. It feels like a series of insurmountable obstacles at every step of the way. You get past one, oh, awesome. I started a business entity, great. Oh, now I need to get credentialed. Oh man, that's another one. And so it's normal. It's normal to feel that way. Don't let that stop you. Don't give up. All right. But let's just kind of talk about how we actually overcome these obstacles. And it's really not that complicated. All right. But we're just kind of walking you through my mindset here. Let me pull up my notes so you can kind of see, make this more real for you. There we go. All right. So let's just kind of talk about how we do this. I'm going to make this up for the sake of this video, but let's just kind of say we're going to be starting a solo practice. We'll use that as an example, right? And let's just say we have to, I don't know, what's the first thing we want to do? Let's say we're going to look for an EHR, right? So we're going to do that. And then let's say we are going to create a website, and then maybe we'll say, I don't know, sign up with Alma. Let's see, sign up with psychology today. And then let's just say establish business entity, right? All right, so let's just say, for example, this is not a real checklist, all right? If you want the real checklist, I'll leave links down below to the videos that have both the group practice and the solo practice checklist attached to the video. So this is just for example, all right? So, let's just say, for example, we're going through this, boom, we find an EHR. That's not too hard, right? I can research that. I can sign up for that. Great. Oh, create a website. How am I supposed to create a website? Right? This is not that easy. For a lot of people, this is difficult. Where do I start? I'm not good at computers. What do I do? And so what I might do in this situation is for a moment, I would forget about the rest of the checklist. And now my priority does not necessarily become create a website for myself. But now what I'm starting to do, I add to the list, and we can add it maybe even right here. We're going to learn about creating websites. And again, we're not doing this with the intention of creating our own website yet, although that's what we will do. We're actually doing this so that we can start to learn about the skill of building a website. So then what I would do is I would set aside time each week to learn about website building. Okay. I would watch as many videos as I could. I would read as many blog posts as I could. And again, we don't have to go bananas with this. You don't have to spend, 10, 15 hours a week on this, but maybe you set aside, I don't know, 2 hours. Let's see. I can't spell. I should set aside time to learn how to spell. Set aside 2 hours learning about websites. Okay. Right. And so then what we're actually doing here is now we're starting to build a foundation of knowledge in regards to building a website. And although this might take longer, this is going to certainly delay this process. That is okay because you're going to be learning valuable skills. Right. So we're going to pause right here. So we're going to say we're going to pause here. And now we're going to kind of learn about website building. All right. And so I would devote time to that. And I'm not joking, after, a significant amount of time, and for some things it's shorter than others, for something it's longer, learning about websites, reading what I can, watching what I can, I start to generate a decent understanding. And then I go back to this and I actually have some sense of how to do it. Right. And so now after reading reading and kind of watching, I might be able to actually put some steps in here. Maybe I can say, sign up with Squarespace. Right. And maybe I can say, develop copy for the site. Right. Copy is like the writing on the site. Right. And so now after the research, we're now actually figuring out what does this really mean to create a website. Right. And so, all right, great. So now we've kind of overcome this obstacle. Right. Which is really, really great. So we check all that off. Right. Now let's say we're going through this checklist where, all right, finally we can pick back up. All right, I'm going to sign up with Alma. Sounds good. Not too hard. Just give them a call, talk to them. Sign up with Psychology Today. Simple enough. I can do that. Boom. We come to another one. Establish a business entity. The anxiety starts racing. We feel overwhelmed. We feel like we want to give up. This is bigger than the website. How am I supposed to do this? This is huge. How do you start a business? All right, what do? We put this all on hold again, and we would imagine there's steps below this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set aside time to learn about business entities, right? So we're just going to set aside time to learn about business entities. All right. And this is what we're going to do. And again, when we're learning about the business entities, the goal is to learn about business entities, not to start your own. That will come after, right? And this one's big. I can remember spending, a pretty close guess, hopefully, probably 10 hours of solid research before I contacted an agency to help me. I didn't even know there was an agency that could help me do this, right? That was part of the research. So we're going to set aside, we already have that, set aside time, right? And now we're going to schedule that in. Schedule this learning in. And what does this learning involve? Again, I mentioned it could be watching, right? It could be reading. It could also be consulting. So maybe you're calling someone else who's done it, or maybe you're calling you're calling a lawyer or an accountant. That's all part of it, right? And again, after some time, you're going to start to know, oh my gosh, I'm learning about this. I'm understanding a little bit more than I did before. And now, what happened with me was I was like, oh, there's agencies that can help me. Contact an agency, right? Okay, great. I have some sense of what questions to ask. What entity do I need? I didn't even know that was a question. What entity do I need? But now I know that that's the question I should ask, right? And so now we're starting to build up this mini checklist under the insurmountable item. But the key takeaway here that I really wanted to share, and that I see people overlooking all the time, is this research step, right? We all want to get on with the checklists and the chat tasks and all that we need to do. We all want to just get past it, right? So for example, we want to build that website. We want to get that done. But if we don't know anything about websites, it's going to be a worthwhile endeavor to spend time learning about websites, right? And so setting that into your calendar, blocking that time off to really learn. Same thing with a business entity, right? So when you come across an insurmountable task, and typically we know it feels that way when, we feel overwhelmed, we feel anxious, we feel like we want to give up, take a pause, hold off on whatever items you're working on, and begin to just research that item. And I promise you, you will start to develop an understanding of it. and you will be able to move on to the next step. This is how I have overcome every single obstacle along the way. And trust me, there's been so many moments like these where I've wanted to just say, you know what, this one feels really insurmountable, I'm done. But every time that I paused, I stopped, and I did this right here, I spent time researching and learning about whatever it was that felt insurmountable. After a little while, might take a little while, I was able to move on. And yeah, I wanted to encourage you with that. If that's something you've never done before, give it a try. Or perhaps you have done it and maybe you feel like it just didn't work out. Try something new. Schedule a consultation with someone. Call up a lawyer. Call up an accountant. Figure out who you need to talk to, but return to it. Don't let any of these obstacles be so insurmountable you stop, especially if private practice, group practice is something you really want to pursue. Really go for it. That's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it inspires you. If you're looking for more content like this, you want to interact with me directly, I have a consultation group that is hosted online. People ask questions in there, and I personally respond to every single one, typically with videos just like this. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.